Hello everyone, back into today's second video. We're going to have a look at the Ecmwf, Meteo France and DWD seasonal models for today's second video. We're going through the next few tri-monthly periods, starting with December, January, February, winter 2019-2020, with all of these three long-range models, and then going through into the spring months as well. So quite an interesting and a fairly important update for you, and I'm going to get on with that for you very shortly. Just to say that the 13th and final Winter 2019-2020 update has been released. It's a true epic, this one. All of winter updates so far this season have been epics, but this one is perhaps the most epic of all. It contains more analogues than we have ever done in a single update. And the video is on the homepage right now. It will be placed on the winter updates and forecast page with a written summary. I'll get that up for you around 8 o'clock this evening, something like that. But it is a really, really true epic. And as I say, we've done more analogues of this update than we have ever done before in a single update. So that's a true biblical epic, if you like, on the homepage. And it will place on winter updates page later. There's going to be a Christmas update coming up for you as well today, and also a live stream on YouTube between 5 and 6 o'clock. How I'm going to get it all in, I don't know, but I will get it all in for you. And live stream on YouTube discussing this winter update. Or the winter update between 5 and 6 o'clock this evening, and also after 7 we're going to have that live stream. Right, let's get on though with the Meteo France, Ecmwf and DWD seasonal model update. So we're going to begin with mean sea level pressure anomalies from Meteo France for the winter of 2019-2020. So we see lots of low pressure up to the north. Lots of low pressure within the northern latitudes. High pressure is sitting to our south across much of Central and Western Europe. The jet stream is going through rather like that. So it's another forecast from a long-range model for an Atlantic-driven westerly and zonal, and you would have thought pretty mild winter there from Meteo France. Moving through to the next tri-monthly period, taking us to January, February, March, so going to late winter, if you like. We continue a pattern really with low pressure, again sitting up to the north. High pressure is down to the south. That again brings in those westerly, southwest winds. Probably drier scenario for southern areas, a little bit less unsettled in the north. And just mild, or even potentially very mild for most of us yet again. The next tri-monthly period takes us to February, March, April. It's the last tri-monthly period that we look at from Meteo France. So we've got, again, low pressure up to our north. High pressure is over and to the south of the country. Low pressure is weakening. Jet streams going northwards as well. It's another Atlantic-driven month. It's going to be another Atlantic-driven three-monthly period, I should say. And it's going to be mild, or even very mild as well with that. And you would have thought with high pressure sitting around west of Europe, generally a lot of dry weather on offer. And of course, as we're going into the spring months, obviously it's turning warmer as well, so becoming quite spring-like, I would have thought there, as we go through to the end of winter and on into the spring. So temperature anomalies with Meteo France for Europe are looking like this for the winter. Go for a mild or very mild winter through most parts of Europe. Warmest anomalies to average are up across the far north, north of Europe and into western Russia. There we're sort of 1 to 2 degrees above average. Widely elsewhere we're sort of half a degree to 1 degree above average with these yellow and orange colours. So a milder than average winter being forecast through most parts of Europe from Meteo France. That goes on to January, February, March 2020. In fact, if anything, it gets a little bit milder across most parts of Europe. Again, widely seeing temperatures around a degree or more above average. For the UK and Ireland, we're actually a little bit closer to average. You're not as warm as most parts of Europe are, but still on the milder than average side. And then go through to the final tri-month period, which is February, March, April, and that one is also looking milder than average through all parts of Europe, with Meteo France anomalies either half a degree or up to 1 degree above average. Precipitation anomalies from Meteo France for winter of 2019-2020 are looking like that. So pretty wet for much of northern and western Europe, Ireland, many parts of the UK, much of Scandinavia coming out with above average rainfall. You notice it's drier than average down towards Spain. So you can see what the pattern is here. We're going to have lots of low pressure up here, and that's where the jet stream is going to be, of course. And then we've got high pressure ridging in from the Azores into Spain, into central Med, down here. And that, of course, drags in mild west to southwesterly winds winter 2019-2020 with Meteo France. January, February, March looks like that. So again, it's actually a little bit wetter than average for northern, western parts of the country, most of Scandinavia looking wetter than average too. Driving average down towards Spain and Portugal, and much of Mediterranean. So again, this west-south-westerly pattern is maintained through to the late winter period. And then finally, we get through to February, March, April. And very little change really, so again above average precipitation over Scandinavia, still hinting at being a bit wetter than average to the north and west of the British Isles, and driving average down here towards Spain and Portugal. Lots of high pressure up there, lots of low pressure around here. The jet stream is sort of west-southwesterly. So it continues to look mild or very mild and Atlantic driven as we get through towards the spring. The only difference is that the low pressures lose their intensity, so it's not quite as wet and unsettled, and gradually we see more and more influence from that Azores high. Absolutely nothing cold doing though there with Meteo France going for a very westerly and Atlantic driven period. This is how the Ecmwf mean sea level pressure anomalies are looking for winter of 2019-2020. And again, it's the same idea, very unsettled, lots of low pressure in the Atlantic, through the northwest of the Atlantic, into the UK and on into Europe as well. Azores high looks a little bit weaker, I think, with the ECM and displays a little bit further south. So the jet stream's a bit further southwards, meaning that there's perhaps a little bit more cooler or cold potential for northern parts of the country. But overall, this is still a very Atlantic-driven type pattern. Low pressure is barreling in from off the Atlantic. You expect this to be mild, wet and windy, really, for much of the winter. And then we go through to the next trimester period, which of course is January, February, March. Very little change, stays really unsettled, lots of low pressure up to the north and over the country, above average pressure, high pressure from the Azores, down across southern parts of Europe and back into the central Atlantic. Jet stream is still going to be coming through like that. So late winter promises a continuation of very unsettled conditions. Then finally, we get through to February, March, April. Signs of a little bit of a change here. So the above average heights pulling back, or the high pressure pulling back into the middle of the Atlantic and going towards Newfoundland. Low pressure is up towards Greenland and Iceland. For Europe and for the UK, there's very little to go on, but very often when high pressure pulls back to there, you would expect a trough within the 500 millibar flow to be developing. So that could hint at something a little bit colder, actually, as we go through to the earlier to middle part of the spring. Possibly. It's not a lot to go on. But sometimes when you get high pressure set up there, close towards Newfoundland, it can cause a dip in the jet stream into western part of Europe. Temperature anomalies with the Ecmwf for December, January, February, winter 2019-2020 are milder than average for most parts of Europe. Again, no change. In fact, it's warmer compared to Meteo France for this period, in fact. So temperatures widely across many parts of Europe are 1 to 2 degrees above averages with those red colours. For the UK, we're like half a degree to 1 degree above average, a very mild winter being forecast really for all parts of Europe. And this continues into January, February, March too. Again, significantly milder than average in many parts of Europe, with temperature anomalies 1 to 2 degrees above average with the ECM. And then February, March, April, again, it's widely above average. We do lose that red area a little bit, where we're 1 to 2 degrees above average. That shrinks a little bit. But really, this continues to look like a mild period right way through into the spring with the ECM. precipitation anomalies from Ecmwf for winter 2019-2020 above average, or wetter than average period coming through, not just for UK, but for most northern, western parts of Europe, northern France, Low Countries, Denmark, up into Scandinavian Peninsula. All of those areas have above average precipitation. It does include Ireland and the UK to some degree as well. The wet period continues into January, February, March as well. So this, once again, above average precipitation through much of northern Europe, where the jet stream is going to be. The jet stream will be in that sort of position, with lots of low pressure around here, around there. And of course, we've got the high pressure down here, bringing dry conditions to Spain and Portugal. So very westerly and zonal. Signs of a change for the final tri-monthly period, which is February, March, April, as we lose those widely above average precipitation anomalies in the north of Europe, and we go closer to average. That possibly hints at something a little bit drier and perhaps a little bit colder or cooler coming along into the spring. But again, that could just be no signal, really. The model just doesn't have a signal for that particular period. And then finally, we've got the DWD. It's been a very depressing update for anyone who wants a cold winter. We'll see whether the DWD throws a curveball our way. So we've got the DWD mean sea pressure anomaly forecast for winter 2019-2020. Again, looking unsettled. The only difference is that the low pressure is sort of centred over the UK. There's no particular area of high pressure to the north, although it does have no signal for Greenland, so quite what's going on there, I'm not sure. Overall, this looks like the jet stream will be a little bit further south again, certainly compared to Meteo France, maybe even a little bit compared to the ECM. So perhaps slightly colder potential there, particularly the northern parts of the country for the winter itself. Then through to the next tri-month period, which is January, February, March, we look like that. Does hint at raising a bit of pressure actually up towards Greenland, although only very weakly. Low pressure is sort of centred over the top of the UK and western parts of Europe. Again, out of the three, I think this one holds the greatest cold potential because it would be sending the jet stream southwards, although there is no particular northern blocking signal. But I think out of the three of them, this is the one that could hold a little bit more cold potential compared to the other two. And then February, March, April looks like that. Very weak signals then. Hints at low pressure being sort of to the south of us, maybe. So over time, it looks like the troughs of low pressure are digging further and further south. Although there is no particular area of high pressure, no particular blocking feature to drive those areas of low pressure projection southwards. But again, out of the three, I do think the DWD is the one that could deliver, or could hint anyway, something a little bit colder happening. So this is the temperature anomaly from the DWD. Notice the red area is not as widespread. It's more over towards the Black Sea and western parts of Russia. That's where we want to 1 to 2 degrees above average. I mean, we are talking about a milder than average winter for most parts of Europe, even with the DWD. And again, you do expect that with these long-range models, because that's the way they always go with their temperature anomalies. I've never once seen any of these three models forecast a colder than average winter for any part of Europe, really. But out of the three, this one probably looks a little bit cooler, especially for the far west of Europe for the winter of 2019-2020. The next tri-monthly period looks like that. Quite warm on the eastern side of Europe, but it does look a little bit cooler to me out towards the western part of Europe. And that continues to February, March, April, where the anomalies then widely across the west of Europe, including much of the UK, Ireland down through France, Spain, and Portugal, sort of have no signal. So it does look like it could be a rather cooler period on west of Europe compared to the other models. Most other northern and eastern parts of Europe, though, have above average temperatures. And then finally, precipitation-wise, we look like that. So precipitation-wise, for December, January, February, winter 2019-2020. It does look wetter than average across much of the UK, so that's in line with the other models. Not as wet further north, though, you'll notice. We do have these drier than average areas sitting up to our north. That could, again, be an indication that the jet stream just going that bit further south. It's also not as dry over Spain and Portugal. as the other two models. So less of an influence from the Azores high there, I think, through the winter. And then through to January, February, March. Again, it looks quite wet across the west of Europe. Notice Spain is coming out quite significantly wetter than average. So instead of having the Azores highs sitting over Spain, actually there's low pressure and probably the jet stream coming through Spain and into Bay of Biscay. For the UK and for Ireland, again, rather above average with precipitation in the late winter period. Possibly a bit of wintry potential in there. As well, I would have thought at times. And then no real signal anywhere in Europe for February, March and April as well. So it's not been a great update for anybody who wants a cold winter. Both the ECM and Meteo France are very much pointed towards a mild westerly Atlantic-driven winter. Meteo France is the mildest of all the options, because that's the one that has high pressure light centred over France through most of the winter and even into the spring, which drags up those very mild, even quite warm southwesterlies. ECM looks very stormy, I have to say. It looks very wet, very stormy, and potentially, at least for the north anyway, there could be a little bit of cold potential with the ECM. But the DWD is the one that holds the greatest cold potential, albeit it's not brilliant from a cold perspective even there. There's no particular northern blocking area, but it does hint that the jet stream is further south than the other two, and so the areas of low pressure are coming further south as well. But quite what's driving that, it's unclear, because there's no sort of area of high pressure blocking within the northern latitude. But out of the three, that one is the one that has the greatest wintry potential. Otherwise, this has been a mostly Atlantic driven, mild and westerly winter and on into the spring months as well type update. Right, so we're going to do the third and final season one roundup for winter of 2019-2020 on Saturday 30th of November. We're going to get all the long-range models together for the last time, see what we're all showing for this winter. We will include Meteo France, DWD and ECM within that update too, so you'll be able to see then how these three models compare to all of the other long-range models, and as I say, we'll have that up for you on Saturday morning, the last day of November. Of course, the next day, Sunday the 1st, is when we're going to release the GWV.com Winter 2019-2020 forecast. So that's going to be, of course, a very, very important and interesting day at GWV, to say the least. Don't forget to check out the 13th and final winter update. It's on the homepage. It'll be placed on winter updates page probably after 8 o'clock this evening. We've got a Christmas update coming up for you later on this afternoon, or early this evening, probably around 7 o'clock. I think that's going to be update number 10, possibly. And there's going to be a live stream on YouTube between 5 and 6 o'clock where we'll talk, no doubt this will come up, this particular update, as well as the 13th winter update and other topics too. Live stream on YouTube between 5 and 6 o'clock. That's all for now though, and thanks for watching.